So we are live on YouTube and TikTok. I'm gonna take a quick second and kind of brief you on the plan. So, as y'all know, we had the news yesterday. Did the TA, told you to take it with a grain of salt, but follow the indicators. The interesting thing is the indicators actually, if you look at where the news hit, did really well. So the news hit right here. Our indicator called along right on the news. Boom, look at that. Almost a $2 run up. Notice how the first rejection was on our white line on the SPY, right? This was the white line that we've been following. This literally was like a give me if you're following this indicator. You caught this long up off of the support, right? Into the red line. It actually caught the short coming down, right back down, right? We would have already entered a little bit early off of the, one candle rejection. You got the wicks, right? You would have entered somewhere in here anyways. Ride that sucker back down. It retested right back up. Now, it did call long on this one, right? And then it did pull back. But ultimately, look at this. I mean, it called it. Like, look how early that actually called that. Confirmed it with the 5-0 off of the support, and bam, just went parabolic. So, um, indicators did extremely well. Basically through that whole news event, which is so awesome. So, I do get people asking. I know I did a TikTok recently, and I know CK has done some TikToks on Harmonic Tracker Pro. So if you see here the Harmonic Tracker Pro, this is the one that does all of that, right? It does the short calls, the long calls, the harmonics as well. So today's plan is a little different. I'm going to be talking about the SPY. I wanted to cover the news, how the indicators did on that. We took some trades early in the morning. I honestly didn't trade the news, which kind of sucks, right? Because our indicators just killed it. I know some people in the room did, so if y'all were following the indicator, you did really well. But with my house closing and I got some other meetings and training that I'm doing, that it just kind of pulled me away during it, so I couldn't watch it. I'm not a big fan of trading the news when I can't sit here and analyze it and really see it. I won't trade it from my mobile, so you gotta stay disciplined as a trader. You don't worry about what you miss. Now, the beauty of this is I see opportunity because we had this pump up, which put us on my 2 minute way over bought. And if you notice, we're beginning a descent down almost all the way back to oversold, but the candles are not jiving with that, right? So I want to see where can we go from here with that. So let's take a look at our 1 hour. And the first thing I'm going to do is just look to see where's the next ceiling. So these yellow lines, as you guys know, are where we put the resistance levels. So we did have a resistance level around 458, 457.96, somewhere around there. It just blew right through that, right? And we're holding on the aftermarket above that. So I want to see, is there something soon that's going to reject that, or are we basically going to push up to the 461? I'm going to tell you, if we get to 461, keep in mind, remember, that is this peak right there. If we get to this peak, I will still, obviously we talk about how we could be short term bearish but be bullish, and overall on the stocks we've been bullish, but y'all got to remember, I mean, we're getting into peaks of bull market, right? Now, I'm not saying that we can't create a higher high here. We absolutely can. All I'm saying is I would need, for me to take a call up here, I would rather miss it all the way to 461 than take a call up here. That's just my trading plan, but you should have your own. I would need to see, for me to take this trade, the call, I would need to see this. So it's sitting about right here. I would need today to see it come down, retest this line as support, create a higher low, right? Pump up here, break above here, creating a higher high, which will likely create FOMO, right? So you might get up as as high as 464, something like that, creating that higher high than there, right? Then I want to see it pull back. So I'm not writing the call anywhere on this. I want to see it pull back and retest 462. And I want to see a good couple of oscillations with higher highs, higher lows like that. that shows me that now this resistance has turned to support. Then I'm interested in taking that call, and I'll ride that sucker up to 470, 471. Anything less than that, I'm not taking a call. Y'all want to take it, that, hey, if you get it, more power to you, but the risk is not worth the reward, is to me. So not up here. So what's my plan today? My plan today is I'm going to wait and see how this market opens. And what I want to see is, can we hold this 458? If we can't hold this 458 on the market open, then basically we're gonna pull below this yellow line. Then I want to start to see, does it act as resistance now, right? So let's take a look. Let's see if there's anything we can draw. So we did have this little white line here. We'll look at that a little bit later. Let's go ahead and pull. I'm gonna delete a few of these. Let's delete this yellow one here. We can probably delete this one now because we can go off that later. And then really what I want to do, just the only thing we can kind of pull off would be maybe this peak right here, and line that up with this peak right here, and let's see where that puts us. Yeah, see, so we're still even above that, right? If we open up, so I'm gonna leave that line though, because keep in mind we can be pre-market above, the market can open, and we can have a swift fall. If it breaks below this line again, right, then it's gonna almost certainly come back to retest this 21 SMA on there. It just lots of money have been made in calls, right, all the way up like this, right? But like I said, when in doubt, zoom out. There's just tons of resistance in here, and we are just literally on a cliff without a retest. For me, my perfect case scenario for this would be, it comes up here, hits this, comes down, hits the 21 SMA, breaks below it about right here, rejects off of it, creates a lower low, lower high, comes down here, a retest around 427, which would likely be the 200 coming up here. Anywhere in here, you're going to want to take that call once you see support, right? Because this would still be a just significant higher low, but we've actually filled the gap. So I'm more comfortable taking that. Then we can come up and chase the all-time high like that. That would make me feel a lot more comfortable, right? Because you can see even here, right, when you had your crazy stretch up like that, right, which is kind of where we're at, right, crazy stretch up like that, we still had a pullback, right? And the pullback was, if you take from the peak here down to here, and then just kind of move that over, right? So if you, depending when we actually fall, if it's around the same equivalent fall, that still puts us around that 427 range, right? So it, again, we can be short-term bearish, long-term bullish, and still be right. So that the Feds did raise the rates. Obviously, the price is built in because we continued to go up. Yeah, I mean, if you look on the daily, I mean, we still have bearish divergence, right? I mean, this is still a lower high. So we had it here, we still have it here, but this is not red, right? So I would just sit tight, and we'll see when that turns red. On the 1 hour, we are overbought as well, but we're not, we haven't flipped red yet. So that's kind of my plan on the SPY. Yeah, and so I'm not going to go deep into the other stocks. I apologize, because I do want to spend some more time on the ATA. Again, this is more of a community huddle, and we do need to. I want to show people how to do some back testing, right, on the results. So I will look at Bitcoin real quick. It's I mean, just looking at it quickly, you can see we had talked about this rising wedge. We talked about a rejection on the 200. I mean, it literally did that yesterday. We shot up, we rejected, came back up. Now we're at the top of this wedge. So for me to take longs on Bitcoin, I need to have it break above 29,650 and hold as support. Then I'm happy taking that long. I'll ride that sucker all the way up. Until then, you know, if I see the rejection off the 200, or I continue to see us reject and start to pull back down below this 21 SMA, then we're setting up for that break. Now, keep in mind, you know, we do have a lower high and a lower high, right? So it's not really any kind of bearish divergence that is enough to break it through here yet. So we'll just have to wait to see if the rest of the indicators line up to kind of solidify that. ETH, as we talked about, you know, is continued to hold strong. I mean, look at this. You know, Monday we saw a low of 1834. Even through the news, we only saw a low of 1850. We're back up to 1876. You know, the high before we get a rejection would be around 1926. And the low, you know, I still have around 1750. So, but ETH is looking stronger, because keep in mind, look at this. We have not, even right here, we have not created a lower low, right? Whereas it's different for Bitcoin. If you zoom out on Bitcoin, right, this is like that same level for ETH, right? We did create a lot bigger lower low. So, so that's the ranges that I would play. Let's talk about the SPY. So we don't have any alerts going, so I'm gonna delete this one here. And you can see, just to show you how it would have handled yesterday. So we did pause it somewhere in here. I didn't want to, although it usually does well in the news. You know, because it's only a 2-day contract, I didn't want it to go parabolic too much and get stuck, right? Which was a good call, because if you think about it, you know, now we're moved up, but in most cases, if there's that chance it doesn't get out right now, you'd be stuck, because it had such a drastic move. I mean, it's like almost $5 move, but it actually in the end played really well. So I, you know, hindsight, right, I would have loved to have kept it on, but you can see here, so we had a long call, got out, had a put, the DCA, which did get out, and then we did have another put that would have been amazing here. So that was right at market open. And then we had another put, which did get out. We had a call that got out. We had a put that would have got out right before the pump. And it actually caught the call, which got out actually way up here. I think it would have closed right here. So that one would have been absolutely massive. It did not catch the put here, but this is the reason why I did not catch the put here is because I'll bet. No, I had it set to close to stop trading at 3. Oh yeah. Yeah, so this is 3 o'clock right here, so that's why it likely, let's see if I extend that. And that's why I'm gonna spend, you know, a lot more time today. I'm gonna show you how I play with these settings, right, to test this the back testing performance. So since we have nothing in a trade, I'm gonna show you how I do this. So, and this is how we determine our strategies. Some of you guys are using the ATA on your own. Some of you guys are copy trading, but we're gonna walk through the back testing. So first things I want to do is, you know, choose your direction. I muted the call because we only want to focus on one direction. We have the SPY, Tasty Trade. Most of the time we're doing a 4-day contract, so I'm going to just leave that as 4-day for right now, just for back testing. I'm going to open it up all the way from 9:30 to 3:30. We're going to leave this unchecked for now. And strike price, we can just leave this at 0.5. Take profit, I'm going to leave the same. I'm going to uncheck one DCA because I don't want to DCA. I want to see how many times does it get stuck if it doesn't DCA, right? And so what I want to do is I want to add a stop loss. So I'm going to add a stop loss. Let's do a tight one, like, I don't know, let's say like 0.25, which is going to give us a lot of stop losses, right? But what I want to show you on the back testing is, when you're creating these stop losses, if the stop losses aren't massive, are you winning more than you're hitting the stop loss, right? And then if not, you can adjust those percentages. So now we want to have a little further back of testing. So let's take this all the way back to like the first. And we'll just call this 9:30. So the date doesn't like that. So let's try the 5th. If you get this where it says 0 like this, that's because the candles don't go back that far. Oh, you know what? I'm on the 2-minute actually too. Let me go back to the 1 minute. There we go. Might be why. Okay. I apologize, guys. I feel like I'm getting sick again. I need more vitamin C. All right, so let's just take a look at this, right? So again, based on our settings, put range filter. We opened it up as far as it can go. We did add a stop loss, and it's not that far of a stop loss, right? It's only 0.25. We have a win rate of 73.81. We have 84 total trades, 22 would hit loss if we chose these settings. So this is where you want to, and keep in mind there's no DCAs, right? We're not DCAing anymore with this type of settings. I talked to the room about trying to pull out the DCAs. The DCAs were working well most of the time, but the problem is sometimes our trading view can determine that DCA as a killer DCA point like it did yesterday. But it has no way to determine price of contract, right? And so it gets a little more complicated, and because you're adding more volume, right, you run a risk of potentially taking a bigger loss if the volume or the value of your contract does not line up with the price. Because remember, options are complicated; they're not just simply chasing the price, right? It's actually volume is very important. So once I choose settings I think I like to zoom out, right? What kind of trades is it taking? How often is it trading? Is it getting stuck? How many of these stop losses are we taking before we take wins, right? So you can actually zoom your candles back. So this one's an interesting, it looks like most of our stop losses, right, are right here. Now, you have to also take into consideration of the fact of where you are and where your TA is. So as you all know, when we were chasing this hill here, down in the 446, 444, right, we likely would have ran more calls than puts. But if you look at it, it actually did on range filter not too bad running on the way up. Although yes, we took some losses right up in this stretch here. Overall, we had a whole lot more wins, right? So we had a ton of wins throughout this thing before we actually took that loss. Even when it took the loss, it flipped, took another win, took a bunch of wins in here, and then it did take a loss here, but then it flipped right back in, took some wins, took a loss, and then had a ton of wins, right? So you'd be net green for sure by the time it got there. And so even in the uptrend here, right, you took a decent amount of losses, but then you just came back, swinging and a ton of wins. So this is a strategy that I am going to play with, and I'm gonna find the best settings with you guys today on this call, and then we're gonna run this. And so if you're on the copy trade and you guys want to run this and see how it rolls, let it roll, right? If you don't, then you can simply go in and you're welcome to turn that off. But if you look at here, when we do catch that trend the right way, look at how it just absolutely kills it. I mean, we had one stop loss right here. And aside from that, I mean, this is like, probably 30 trades in a row of just nothing but wins, right? So the losses shouldn't be too massive just because of the percentage that we're doing with them. And so it should balance out. But again, we want to see, can we get this any better without risking too much more? So let's look at the different strategies first, just based on the settings. So let's go to Trend Finder. And we're looking at the win rate and average duration in the contract. Because remember, the longer it's in the contract, the more value that you may lose in that too. So Trend Finder had a little higher win rate. It took one less stop loss, but the average time in trade was a little bit higher. So let's take a look at moving average. So moving average took a few more stop losses, but it also took a few more trades. And again, I'm just going to flip through the strategies based on some settings I have placed. And we can adjust these settings, which we'll do here soon. So let's go to support and resistance, because that one did not look good. Support and resistance is not good. Support and resistance is not good because that is a better strategy when you're going to range, because it's searching for the top, searching for the bottom, right? So obviously in the past 20, 30 days, we've mostly just gone up. And that's why you're going to see these win rates also a little bit lower, because we're trying to test a put in an up market. And so based on what it's done in the past doesn't necessarily mean exactly what it's going to do now, because we're obviously way higher in the range. We could hit the ceiling and start working our way down. and it could just be 100% different. So the backtesting just gives you an idea of where it's getting its entries, how aggressive is it, what's the percentage rates. You just want to choose the best one, because if I can choose, if it did really well on the way up, it's going to just absolutely destroy it on the way down, right? So let's go to Golden Death Cross. So it looks like 75 was about the highest we can get. And then let's check our parabolic SARs. So parabolic SARs actually, if you look at it, it didn't trade as often, right? We only have 29 trades in there, but it had a 76% win rate, and it only took 7 of the losses, right? So that's actually not too bad. So let's take a look at the parabolic SARs and see how, I want to see where the losses are, right? How did it do in the uptrend? So here, where you saw we took a bunch of losses, instead we only took 3 along the way, right? And then we had our ride back down. It did take one here, but it jumped right back in and took 2 wins, pulled it up here. It did take one there, but then it rode it back down again in 2 wins there. So, and the interesting thing is, actually, if you look, the parabolic SARs actually did catch that fall, from the news pump and then dump, right? So, might not be too bad of an idea to do this one, just because it's not as aggressive. You can see a lot of gap, right? A lot of space in between. Man, this one, look at this. It came in, it actually called the short, but it got wicked out before it actually had the fall. So, which is, it's going to happen. But, even in these uptrends, it did pretty well. Let's see. So here it took a little bit of stop loss, right? So now comes the question of, okay, what if we make the stop loss tighter, or we make the stop loss a little more, right? So let's say we risk 0.05 more. How does that adjust this? Does it save any stop losses? So it didn't save anything, right? So let's just continue up and see where we can get some nudge, right, on it. So really not much. Okay, so all the way to 0.4. And again, remember, the higher you bring this, the more you're going to lose. So whether we do 0.25 or 0.4, it really doesn't seem like it matters, right? So now let's go the other way. Let's go to 0.2. So it took one more stop loss on that. And so, and it looks like the stop losses are close to $1 away when it takes them, right? So let's go to 0.15 and see if we tighten that up even more. So 0.15 is not a good one, right? Because that's obviously, basically double the stop losses that we hit, right? So this is kind of how we find that balance, right? So I'm going to do 0.25 because 0.2 was about the same, but 0.25 gives us a little bit of breathing room on that as well. So I kind of like the 0.25 for that stop loss range. Contract days is not going to change anything. Now we can adjust, some other things you can adjust is you can adjust either the take profit, or you can adjust the time. So let's adjust the take profit. Let's just go up, no, not that one. Let's go up by 0.01 and let's just see. Because we want to get as much profit out of every trade we can, right? So I don't see any other stop losses that got hit with that. Let's try 0.08. Okay, so we took one extra stop loss. Let's go 0.09. So we took another one on that one, right? So you can see that, as we increase those take profit zones, it's continuing to take those, right? So we may want to come back and just, this is how we determine that default, right, of that 0.06, because it does save, some of those stop losses, right? Now let's look at time. Does the time matter, right? Let's say we go to 9:45. Does that help us or does that hurt us? So it doesn't really change much. You all know me, I don't really like to take them at the market open, so I'm going to go ahead and leave that. Let's see if we stop trading a little bit earlier. So we actually went up and we saved a stop loss, right? So stopping a little bit earlier could be something that could be a good potential. Let's go even earlier, maybe 2:30, right? Because the objective is we do not want something going more than the end of the day, right? If we can stop it. So we actually are doing pretty good. So we're almost 77% on that one. Let's try 2 o'clock. All right, so this one, if you notice, what I looked at is we really didn't save much here, but we lost a lot of trades there. So we go back to 230 and we gained 5 more trades. So let's go back to 130 and let's just see how that impacts it. So we lost a lot of, so it seems like we have a lot of good trades, between 130 and 230. So let's go ahead and put the 230 back. Now let's do something interesting, and let's say we don't want to carry anything over at the end of the day. So we actually took 2 more stop losses, right? So and that is basically closing everything at the 1545. Now keep in mind, we can stop everything at the end of the day if we want to, and sometimes it comes back around, right? And if we have a stop loss in place like this, right? You likely don't need to have the stop the trades at the end of the day, right? To kill them all. If you get to a situation where we want to add that, we can, right? But it's not something that you have to have that's necessary, because remember, we do have 4 days to get out of that trade. And we still have the ability to add a DCA if we want to. If we see that news is coming, we see that we're up against a crazy resistance, right? We can pull that stop loss out, or we can move it up. Now keep in mind, if I add this DCA, I have to make sure the stop loss is higher than the DCA. So I might want to move it to like 0.75 or maybe 1%, right? Is how that would work. So far with these settings, the parabolic stars looks the best, not as aggressive. Now you also want to, when you consider this, so let's hit OK for now. What I want you to do when you make these decisions, same way we did this in crypto, right? Go to the 1 hour. I want you to zoom it out like this, and I want you to consider your upper and your lower levels of support and resistance, right? So we're going to take this, and we know we're above already, so we're going to move this line to there so we can kind of monitor that. And then, let's try to find a possible support area, right? So I probably would mark this, because remember, this is exactly how we zoned it with the crypto side of it as well. So now this is our upper and this is our lower for this zone. So you can see we're actually right about here. So we're in the upper part. So this is going to help you make your decision of, do we think we're going to start to reject back down, kind of like we did here? You want to stick more puts up here and more calls down here, right? As you're doing it, because you have less risk of that stop loss being potentially hit for a parabolic move, because it's, as it goes up, it's going to have that climb. So the reason why I bring that up is, when you're high in the range is the time that you want to have a more aggressive potential strategy, right? Is when you want to be more aggressive. And so if I come back to the 1 minute, so like for today example, I'm okay with all of these settings that we have in here. And I'm okay with being a little more aggressive. So now what I'm going to do is, I know the parabolic stars is my passive one. I believe range filter had the second best stats. So let's see how these stats play in now. All right, so we had 71 with 17 stop losses on there. So let's see if there's any of them that were better. Actually, Trend Finder. Yeah, Trend Finder did really well. 1.6 with these settings, 75. It's still held and it's aggressive, right? So Trend Finder might be a good one to play. Let's try moving average. Pretty good, but a little less still. And then we know these ones aren't going to be ideal because they're more support and resistance. We could try RSI. RSI is not too bad, but the Trend Finder is a little bit better. So I'm going to stick with the Trend Finder. So now, how do I determine my contract days? Well, today is always 0. You have Friday is 1, right? Saturday is 2, Sunday is 3, Monday is 4. So you have to either do a 0, a 1, or a 4 today, right? Is how you'd play it. So I'm going to leave these as a 4, Keep in mind, I don't let anything go over Friday. So we're doing a 4 not because we think it can go to Monday. We have our stop outs anyways. But we're doing a 4 because we want to see the theta kind of hold a little bit better. So if we do a 0 or a 1, I mean, we have to be, you have to be almost perfectly as far as being right. So I do want to do the strike a little bit closer. So we'll do like a let me think. On a 4-day, 0.5 on a 4-day is fine. That's gonna just pull that down a little bit. If you're doing less days, you want to make that a little shorter. So that's how I'm gonna determine my settings. This is the settings we're gonna run today. Let's see how this runs. So I'm gonna go ahead and create the alert. Let me delete these other ones first. And we do have 8:30, so I'm gonna try to go through the calls similar, but we'll go through it a little quicker. All right, so we're gonna add the alert for the put. All right, ATA, copy, put, create. I'm actually probably not gonna run the call quite yet. I don't like running the call way up here. I'd love to see a retest pullback before I decide to run a call. If I do a call, it's gonna be for sure the parabolic stars. But let's quickly take 5 minutes and flip through this again. So we're gonna make this the 4 days, just like the other one. We'll say parabolic stars is fine. We know that to 230 is about is the good setting. We're gonna leave that one blank. Strike's the same. TP we've already adjusted. Let's take the DCA out and let's enable the stop loss of 0.25. And then we're going to take this back to the 5th where we had the other ones. And let's see how it would have done. Notice how the percentage is 88. It's a lot higher. We only took 3 stop losses because, remember, we're in that uptrend on that. So that, it's going to be a little easier to find something on this one, right? So let's see if we can find something better than the parabolic stars. So Trend Finder had traded like a nut here, but it did take 15 losses, so it does have a lower percentage. It's still 80. Let's go to moving average. That one's a little lower. RSI. A little bit lower. Support and resistance with the parabolic movement. That one, well, actually didn't do too bad because the trend is up. Range filter. I mean, all of these are sitting above 80, right? Which is better than the short. But where I don't want people to get lost in is people get too caught on the percentages and they think, oh man, this is an 88% win rate. Keep in mind the trend was also up, right? So of course it's going to win more than the put. And that's where some of the TA comes in, where if you're in the top of the range, you might want to play the puts. If you're in the bottom, you might want to play the calls, right? You don't always have to do both. The only time I typically recommend both is when you have you're in the middle of that range. So the SARS is definitely the best that we have on this. I don't want to be super aggressive on here. I'm okay with running calls up here because it's, we're getting so much pressure up. Even when we pull back, it just gets crazy bounces. So I think what I'm going to do on the call, I'm going to run the call, the SPY. We'll do parabolic SARS 4 days. This is going to be the contract time. And we will have the stop loss in there. And I'm not going to do the DCAs. And I'm going to change this to today. Well, actually, I don't need to change it to today, so let's just leave it. Because the reason why is because see how it is in a call and it got out, right? So it's going to look for a trade regardless, right at 9:45. So let's, and this way we can continue to, see how the percentage win rates go. So close trade on chart, we're good. Stop loss is good. I'm just double checking because I went through quickly. Strike's fine. Take profit's fine. 9:45 to 2:30. Parabolic SARS, call, tasty trade, and SPY. But like I said, I wanted to go through a little more back testing because some people I think were struggling on how to determine that back test, right? So let's go ahead and add the alert. And keep in mind, I'm going to watch this because we are just so high in the range. It's just not even funny. Can we go higher? Sure. I mean, look at the pressure, right? It's just nuts. But I think once we get up to here, that rejection is going to be just insane. But we have stop losses, right? Also, one setting I did not cover is we do have the ability, guys. If I don't want it to trade after a stop loss, I just hit this, and it will just stop trading. But keep in mind, notice how everything disappeared. If you're going to do that, right? If you're going to stop it out after one stop loss, what you have to do is make sure that this date is moved up to today, because otherwise it's already hit a stop, and so it's gonna kill it, right? But I'm gonna monitor it, so I'll know if it hits those stop losses, and so we'll close it. We'll pause it if we feel like we need to at that time anyway. So all right, so we got our call, we got our put. That's the plan. I hope that helps y'all on the back testing. Let me actually look. Okay, yeah. So our last trade was a put, and we did get out on this one. So, it's already going to look for a trade right away. Well, at 9:45, anyways. So, but that is the plan. I hope that helps you guys. I went about 6 minutes over. Today was more about the automated trading portion. You can see when they're both combined together, just traded like a crazy person. This is a new strategy I'm going to try on the copy trading, because we did do the DCA strategy, and it took like, I don't know, 25 wins and only 3 losses, right? But because of the DCA and the difficulty of figuring out the value of the contracts, right, some of the losses were bigger, and so it put it at obviously a little more risk. So we're going to adjust this here like this. Like I said, you get a ton of trading action, and it does stop out. Keep in mind, it can stop out. So obviously we want to get a lot more wins before we stop out. That's where some of the TA will come in. But just be prepared. There's going to be some losses in there. So don't be discouraged if you get a couple losses, because what I always find happens is people, they'll take a stop loss and then they go, oh, we took a loss, I'm going to pause it, right? And then you miss out on all the actual wins that actually make up the stop loss and put you back net green. So, but like I said, this is a strategy. I'm going to end this for the community. I will actually, if you're in the community, I actually cannot open the room today. I have to go register my car. I totally forgot that the registration expires on the 31st. I found out that yesterday, so I have to go do that today. But CK, I spoke with him. He is going to open the room at 9:30. So I will, so we will have that ready to go for you guys. So, but I appreciate your time. TikTok, I'll take a look and see if we have some comments, but I don't have a ton of time to answer those, unfortunately.